Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the final stretch of the Pacific Championship Series. We will find out which heroes will rise and fall and which teams will live and die as we head on to the last week of the regular season here in week 5. But before we get into all of the juicy storylines, we first have to thank our sponsors in CTBC Bank, China Airlines, Chunghwa Telecom, and our new addition in the Unicorn Caliber. If you want to watch some good Netflix or YouTube on your television, you can check out their website. They sell perfect products to go along with your television and your smart cable needs. So before we get into everything, short introduction about ourselves as well. I'm going to be your host and play-by-play. I'm going to be Clement Chu. With me is the ever so handsome, ever so gorgeous Nightstar. How are you doing, man?
Dude, I am so excited. We're into our final week, and to start things off, all these games really do matter, especially today, just to make sure these teams get on the right foot to see if they can make those tiebreak games, which is also why we're starting on Thursday.
Yeah, this is a change to the schedule that I think might catch a lot of people off surprise, but being a long-time fan of the PCS, you know that this was coming. We usually do start a day earlier in the last week, and to compensate on Sunday, we will have those tiebreaker games. In spring, we only got one game, so it wasn't that much of a hassle, but we have a potential for a whole slew of games coming up. We'll be taking a look at the standings and, just going through what sort of a situation that we have right here, and of course, to no one's surprise, PSG Talon still 15-0. They are very well on their way to a flawless split. Meanwhile, moving down, we have another 4 teams that have already qualified from Megabank Beyond Gaming all the way down to Taipei J-Team. They have locked in their postseason slots. We don't know about the seedings just yet, but these times are definitely in. And then later on, I think, is where all the spice this week is going to happen, because we have a dog pile of teams at 4 wins, and then Liab chasing after them, only 2 games behind with 4 more to go. And then, of course, Alpha Esports with the outside chance to still upset.
Yeah, and the storyline for the bottom half of the teams is no one is mathematically eliminated quite yet. Even Alpha Esports at such a record of 1-13, if they manage to win out, they have a very slim chance of still cracking into playoffs, or at least the possibility of getting into tiebreaks. However, for Berjaya, Impunity, and Hong Kong Attitude, it doesn't take a whole lot of effort to lock in the playoff spot. Really, realistically, it only just takes 1 game to get yourself to 5 wins is going to make things very, very difficult for Liab and Alpha to catch up.
Yeah, and we will revisit the storylines of our playoff battle, but for now, the hero of week 4 is Liang. Last week, KDA going up to 8.8 and had a ton of great performances in the solo lanes. We thought this guy was a little bit suspect when he first came back and filled in for the role on PK. Didn't have a great week 3, to be absolutely honest, but week 4, he really changed our minds.
Yeah, Liang has improved quite a bit from some of the laning, I would say, disasters we saw from him earlier on in the split, but he's shored those up, and he's really looked very strong here in the second half. And this is one of those players that if Megabank Beyond Gaming make it to the international stage, they need Liang to show up in a massive way for them to really make a dent at the international level.
Yeah, for sure. This is the guy that we are really looking towards in the PCS as fielding a strong side top laner. One of the things that has been missing from the arsenal in this region for many years, but we will continue to observe Liang and his great performances starting from the first game today as Megabank Beyond Gaming takes on a struggling Hong Kong Attitude. Going down further, we do have a must-win game for Liab Esports, as well as Impunity versus Berjaya, 2 teams that are neck and neck in the standings, trying to keep themselves out of reach from Alpha Esports, which also plays today on the 4th game.
Yeah, and the story of today's schedule is, of course, the top half of our matches is about these top half of the teams jostling for positioning, making sure that they solidify their seeding. Of course, for PSG Talon, it's not really about the seeding, it's more about can you complete the perfect regular season split. And the rest of those teams, they're trying to, well, Taipei J team, they're trying to climb into that position of to challenge that 2nd through 4th seed. And for everyone else, they're trying to make sure that they stay in that area. And in the second half of the day, of course, it's the second half of our schedule or our bracket here. It's Berjaya trying to solidify their position. If they win one of those 2 games, they've almost locked themselves in. And then for Liab, it's to keep the dream alive.
For sure. Like, if we're really looking at the schedule and what it has implications in terms of the postseason, then it's really about who gets that 2nd place. Because if you get that 2nd place beyond PSG, who's already locked in first, that means you get an extra bye in the playoffs. Not only do you start in the winner bracket, you actually get to skip through the first round. And the second half of the day, I think for sure the most important thing is if Berjaya win, if Berjaya, Hong Kong Attitude, or Impunity win and Alpha Esports loses, that means they take themselves out of range for Alpha Esports. And that means you only have to worry about Liab going forward. So, that general implications going forward, trying to keep themselves out of the reach of Xiaotu and K-Babe. And then for the first of our first 3 games going into it, it's really about who can secure 2nd place, because we have a really tight race with Megabank, Beyond Gaming, Boom Esports, and Machi Esports. 3 teams all on 11 wins. And Beyond Gaming are going to be the first ones coming up. We're going to go through their rosters. Player of the week in the top lane, Liang, Husha, probably our most improved jungler, Maoan in the mid lane, who just got a pentakill on Rise last week, and Dago and Kino in the bottom side.
Honestly, that pentakill was unreal in a very critical game in a critical moment. And I would say the highlight of this roster has been a much improved top half of the map. Husha, Maoan certainly stepping up, and lately it's been, of course, Liang. And if you get this full complement of players to be able to support Dago and his truly international level of play, then you've got a very special team. However, now we're going to be looking at Hong Kong Attitude's roster. This is a very different story from Megabank, Beyond Gaming. Rock in the top lane, Kongren jungle, Bivin mid lane, Eminem and K in that bot side. The big story, of course, is they've lost 6 in a row after looking very competent in the first half of the split. Kind of falling apart.
Does feel like they have lost their way so far, and I think recently they've been swapping between a lot of different players, a lot of different play styles, and we are still seeing, I think the most obvious thing is definitely the lack of a very coordinated shot caller coming out from this team. And they just don't seem to have the capability to string great plays together. Some interesting stats coming out here. We're going to be taking a look at the bot lane here. Eminem, honestly, not that far behind. I feel like this man has been a shining spot on the roster, but unfortunately not able to come out ahead and actually hold up the W on his side of the bargain.
Yeah, Eminem, he's been very steady, especially for a team that's lost 6 games in a row to only be down 300 gold at 15. Definitely shows a lot of resilience coming in from that bottom side of the map. And that's really just been the only consistent part of this roster. Even Konga, the one that we highlighted pre-season or coming into the split as being that really big shining star to perhaps move Hong Kong Attitude into that top half of the standings, has really just fallen short as of late. And this is going to be an important matchup if Hong Kong Attitude want to find that upset.
Currently, they still have a 2-game lead over Liab with 4 games to go. So, frankly, their situation isn't all that bad, but their schedule is rather rough. They still have J-Team left. Of course, they're facing Beyond Gaming right now. They do have a bit of a booster coming later on as they have to play Alpha Esports too. So, I think realistically, you're looking at them with 5 wins, but miracles can happen, and they will have to start now if they are going to make it through. Beyond Gaming, starting right off the bat, taking away a little bit from Eminem and a little bit from Bivin. LeBlanc and Ziggs off the table. On Hong Kong Attitude side, they're giving Liang some respect here, taking away his Tom Kench. It was very deadly in the lane last week. And of course, also getting away the Thresh, which has been almost a permaban against Beyond Gaming.
Also, taking away that Varus pick away from Doggo. Doggo's just been so oppressive on this champion. Very, very good at landing those arrows, and also, of course, those Varus ultimates. We'll see what Beyond Gaming opts for a first pick. Xin will be that lock-in. Viego, Gwen still available. They've been champs. That did get dinked a little bit on this patch, but still very, very powerful nonetheless. It's really just been a quick slap on the wrist along with Irelia, and it's just kind of been like, well, matters a little bit, but not enough.
Yeah, we didn't really see these champions fall off too hard in terms of the selection rates coming into this patch. So, as you have mentioned, right on the monies. Power picks still going through. Gwen and Viego locked in. A lot of flex potential here for Hong Kong Attitude. Just a quick preamble here, but where do you think these lanes are going to end up? Are they going to be the standard ones, or do you see Hong Kong Attitude pulling out something shifty here?
I'd certainly like to see Kongre on a higher damage carry like the Gwen, but of course Viego is still relatively strong in the jungle, also has a little bit of bonus damage added when he goes back into the jungle here. And for Mega Bank Beyond Gaming, they instantly just lock in their solo laner straight up here, which allows this counter pick to come through if they want the Irelia here. And it does make a lot of sense, has very good kill pressure into both the Ryze and the Jace, so they can still maintain some flexibility when it comes to their draft decisions, but it does look like they're going to pivot towards the Syndra, which I think is probably more of a Bivin style champion.
Oh, definitely is. One of those old but still pretty sweet counter picks against the Ryze. You do have that potential to get a stun. Easier against a low mobility champion like Ryze early on. And Hong Kong Attitude, still keeping their options open. We have seen Gwen go to Kongre before, and that's actually one of the few wins that they've actually gotten this split. So definitely not out of the realm of the possibility later on as we look at the holistic drafts. Hong Kong Attitude going to throw even more shade at Kino, just making sure he gets all of his champions banned out. Braum off the table as well. Leona's still up, but I doubt that one's going to last very long. And Beyond Gaming this time around, they do have the option to ban out mainly the bottom lane. That's probably the safest bans going into this one. See where they want to take it out on. Hong Kong Attitude for Eminem. We've seen a lot of great Ezreal, a lot of Aphelios plays. He really has a wide breadth of champions to pick from. Very difficult to target out on his part.
Yeah, and taking away the champions here definitely leaves a couple options open, such as the Draven, which we've seen being played in this league 3 times now, and it will be the Alistar banned away. So whatever support pick does end up in the hands of Kino, assuming it is one of those melee supports, it's not going to be able to provide a lot of disengage for Doggo, which could be problematic, but he's honestly just played so well when he doesn't have summoners that not having a peel support probably isn't going to impact him too much. But Eminem looking to add additional playmaking into this draft. This makes a lot of sense, but it does sort of limit their scaling. Yes, you've got a lot of scaling on that top half of the map, but Kalista, if you get shut down early on, you go into the pit of irrelevance very quickly.
Well, I think if you have a Syndra, it's fine to be irrelevant late game. You're pretty much going there anyway. So Hong Kong Attitude just going pretty low to the ground here for early game tempo, like you mentioned. Meanwhile, Beyond Gaming, I love the target bans coming out from Hong Kong Attitude. Really looks like they want to take away 1-3-1 defensive supports. And Beyond Gaming, they are still looking like they're locking into this 1-3-1 and going for the Ashe. This is a champion that has been very popular in other leagues, but oddly silent in the PCS so far. Lots of kill threat coming in. Great support cross lanes. Beyond Gaming are going to lock that one in. I'm not 100% sure, but this might just be the debut of Ashe in the PCS so far. Let me check that out.
Yeah, I think it's our first Ashe pick. Oh, wait, no. It does look like we've had 2 Ash picks before, but they were both
yeah.
losses. So perhaps Dago can change the fortunes of Ash, as we are going to see Rel locked in for K. This is the champ that did get a slight buff on this patch, as he or she's been able to get a bonus 2 seconds removed off of her Pheromancy crash down skill.
Oof.
But regardless, it's going to be an engage heavy bot side trying to really facilitate for Rock and Kongren.
Yeah, a lot of buff champions coming out on the side for Hong Kong Attitude. Also the Syndra. Getting that mana reduction, 20 mana on level 1 Q is absolutely massive. And we could see her not having to opt into just Corrupting Potion the entire time. So a lot of interesting changes, and maybe this new patch can be the solution that Hong Kong Attitude is looking for.
You say that, but the draft is just a lot more oppressive, I feel, coming in from Mega Big Beyond Gaming. They've got the Jace, they have the Rise, like, there's so much mobility for this squad because of the Jace Gate with the Realm Warp, and then you've got the long range capabilities of the poke from Jace, and also that arrow and arrows from the Ash. So a lot of range, a lot of oppressive capabilities here coming in from Mega Bank Beyond Gaming. So for Hong Kong Attitude, this is one of their issues. They have a lot of trouble rotating cleanly towards objectives without getting caught out, and against this squad, you're most likely going to get picked off very easily.
Ooh, not a great predictions coming in. So I like your general analysis, but I feel like those are based on the IDs rather than like the comps themselves. So I kind of want to go back to our basics and outline for the viewers the win conditions for each of these teams here. As we have Beyond Gaming with, as you mentioned, mobility, likely 1-3-1. But what are the conditions for Hong Kong Attitude to really make this upset work?
It really just comes down to hard slamming this bottom lane, maybe find a couple picks in this mid lane, and hopefully use those advantages to snowball into that mid game, because past mid game you are going to struggle because of the fact that you're fairly limited when it comes to damage from a Callista. Even the Syndra can struggle a little bit. Fortunately this game, they're pretty squishy champions on the other side of the rift of her, so she's going to maintain some relevance, and then it's just really all about this Gwen trying to carry the rest of the squad over the finish line once it gets to late game.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. This team feels like a lot more early or bust compared to the composition that we have from Mega Bank Beyond Gaming. So we'll see if we have some early shenanigans in store. And of course, Hong Kong
Early
Attitude.
shenanigans.
There we go. We love cheese here. We're both Americans, me and Nightstar. And though we might be lactose intolerant, we definitely like some cheese coming in. Doesn't
And
look like Liang's going to fall for it. Very anticlimactic.
Yeah. Oh, it does look like they kind of... And they're probably not going to commit to that, so it's going to be a pretty standard start here, 5-point line. Beyond that, very deep or very aggressive approach to that top side, but they do end up backing off. K is going to get slain. Tragic, but yeah, it's going to be red buff starts coming in from both sides. And this is kind of what we expected from Hong Kong Attitude, right? They want to try and attack that bot lane. They want to see if they can possibly get something in the mid lane. And overall, that just means you're probably starting top side so you can finish bot.
Take a look at the summoners here. We do have the cleanse coming in from Dago. Very common these days for bot laners to be running that, but they definitely understand that they're going to be playing a defensive bot side. We also saw Mega Bank Beyond Gaming actually give the leash to their bottom end, so it does mean that Hong Kong Attitude should get the push here if they so choose to. Looks like they're holding the wave actually quite equal for now. And an early sweeper down just to prevent some shenanigans coming in. We haven't seen Rel in quite a while, but she's definitely still very powerful with the ability to just come out crashing down from the brush, and looks like Mega Bank Beyond Gaming are looking for that potential. In the meantime, we have a bit of a scuffle in the mid lane. Divin taking a worse trade here. Hong Kong Attitude find that level 2, but instantly returned by Dago and company.
Yeah, and for the most part, you're going to be able to decide how to play the lane a lot with this Ashe pick because of how much wave control you do have with, of course, the W. And the other underappreciated part is just the fact that you'll be able to get okay damage coming out. That's pretty close, but the Ashe is going to be able to scout out where the opposing jungler is with the Hawk Shot. And that's just such a powerful tool coming in from the AD carry position.
Yeah, one extra cookie coming in for Rise in the mid lane with great trade there. Corian knows that he's spotted, so goes and pops the Scryer. Husha is not going to be able to catch up right here, but he does force away the Viego from the potential bot lane gank. And that just means that the bot lane strategy that you outlined for Hong Kong Attitude likely not going to work. They're going to have to look for a straight up 2v2 to get anything done here. We see the early backs coming in from mid lane. Mawan just getting 23 CS, gets his tier out early. And taking a look at the wave position, Husha perfectly happy to just leave it there. Standing, he's going to pick up 1 CS on the way towards his double scuttle. And, we've talked about Hong Kong Attitude wanting to get things done early. It looks like full Mega Bank Beyond Gaming through all 3 lanes right now.
That is an absolute true statement. As Husha, he will get a double scuttle. Kongra, he's just forced to recall here as there's no jungle for him to take. And this is a brilliant start for the side of Mega Bank Beyond Gaming. Of course, they want to keep things as quiet as possible. Make sure there's not too much jungle interference. Yes, you have a Xin who doesn't scale very hard, but when you have powerful laners like the Rise, Jace, and the Ashe, you just want to keep laning as much as possible.
Kongir could be in a little bit trouble here as we see a 3v2 developing onto the top side.
Teleport.
In comes the squad, but the mist comes through and they force the early flash out of Husha. We see a two-man stun coming in from Bivin. Mawan goes in, but Kongir body blocks for his top lane. First blood not going to happen so far. Both teams shedding a bit of blood, but no kills.
No kills happening here. They are able to reset the wave, but it is going to cost a couple of flashes here, as it is 2 flashes burned on both ends, but more importantly, double teleports burned by Hong Kong Attitude, so we could see some sort of aggressive response coming into the bottom half of the map, coming in from Mega Bank Beyond Gaming. But for Hong Kong Attitude, they want to try and capitalize on Mawan's positioning.
They are spotted coming through though, and Mawan very deftly holds his ground, gets his phase rush, and then just simply walks away from the gank. Really good vision coming in. Hong Kong Attitude also feel like they were spotted as we see the pings coming down. Very good guess, I have to say, from Hong Kong Attitude. Instantly know where the ward might have been. And we do have a decided lead coming out, as you mentioned here, just the summoner advantage. Double TP's already expended. And we do have that kill lane from Mega Bank Beyond Gaming. Ashe plus Nautilus is very hard to get away from, if I might say. Yeah, we're going to have a little bit of a push in and a little bit more of a scuffle here against Kongria.
Still level 4 on both the bot lane champs, but once level 6 comes through, this is a bot lane duel that can really support an aggressive jungler like Xin, as he's looking for this wolf camp. We'll be able to take wolves and won't necessarily be able to threaten Kongria, but it will slow down Kongria yet again, as he's behind on EXP, and he's just really trying to find a footing in this game in general.
Yeah, the lanes have not gone well. We also saw a swap which was definitely not in the favor of Hong Kong Attitude. Both Syndra and the Gwen getting bullied out by the ranged counterparts here. And it looks like Beyond Gaming made great use of that, just going into the jungle multiple times. They cleared out the entire bottom side, which means that we could see that roam you were mentioning. The 4v2 roam seems incredibly likely to happen, as Doggo's already halfway through his experience bar. Not the fireworks flying anytime soon here. K is going to go in for a bit of a short trade, but actually loses out quite heavily on that one. Kino getting the auto attack down, staggering blows, giving him the aftershock, and they're going all in here. M&M getting the better side of the trade, and they get the flash out from Kino already. Bit of an odd play there.
Top
Meanwhile,
dive.
on the top side, Mega Bank Beyond Gaming are going to try
No
again
teleports.
with the 3v1. Needlework popped already. Rock going up onto Husha, gets the 3-man, and in comes Kongir for the reset. They take one down. Can they get another? See the Realm Warp getaway coming in from Malan to take them out of harm's way. 1 for 1 in the top side.
1-for-1 trade there, and for the most part, it's going to benefit Mega Bank Beyond Gaming just a little bit more. Yes, they do give up first blood gold, but the main part of this dive is that they're able to shut down the Gwen, continue this all-important lane phase dominance from this Jace, as they are able to deny so much minions and EXP away from the Gwen. Yes, Konya is still able to catch all of that, so it's not lost on the map, but it's not the ideal place where you want to put the gold, even though it does help Konya catch back up.
For sure, Kongir definitely needs to make the most use out of the gold that he has been given, showing up at the right time right there, and we see once again why it's so difficult to dive that Gwen. Gets a 3-man on the early Needlework. Great play and positioning from Rock right there to keep himself a little bit more alive, and we have a situation where I feel like Mega Bank Beyond Gaming are actually running somewhat vulnerable, as we have both flashes gone from multiple members now, and the bot lane trade also not going into their favor. So Hong Kong Attitude on the hunt, sniffing for blood right here as Kane makes his second roam. Now heads on towards the Herald. We have both teams fully committed here, a 10-man engaging at the top side. The Mega Bank Beyond Gaming does have the advantage in vision, and they are going to go ahead and start Shelly up. We might have a potential collapse from Hong Kong Attitude, something that they have not been able to pull off very well this split. Let's see if they can change their fortunes here, as we have the engage coming out from Dago. Taking K down to half HP, but Kongir is closer to the objective. Rock going in, and K goes in to seal off the ramp. They do get the Herald.
They're kind of trapped.
Unfortunately here, they have to run away as Kongir isn't able to do so. It's going to be a double kill coming in for Liang. Ejected to Hong Kong Attitude, but they have not made the full escape just yet. A great disengage from Bivin, gets the 3-man, and M&M has to flash across the wall.
So it ends up being the Rift Herald secured by Hong Kong Attitude, but as we watch the replay, it gets to be fairly low as they toss out the arrow. Unfortunately, they're not quite in position to collapse upon that kill because of where the rest of Hong Kong Attitude are, and a fantastic re-engage coming in from K. And while it was a good re-engage, follow-up not quite there immediately. That's why he ends up going down without enough cost back. And in the end, it's just a bunch of flashes at the end of the fight. I thought for a moment there, Mega Bank Beyond Gaming were going to be in a bit of trouble because they were stuck in a ramp over by that area, but because of the timing of K going in a little bit too early, ends up not getting fully punished.
Yeah, who shot a great...
I've seen this play before.
Again, getting just dove. Pops the flash, but is not going to survive. Having a very bad day, as that's the third 3v1 that we've seen coming into the top lane. Hong Kong Attitude trying to respond in the bot, but Kino actually stuns K midway. Dago uses the cleanse to get out of the Magnet Storm. He's going to hold his ground and even go forward. Dodges out on Bivin, stays alive in the 4v2. Great play coming in from the Ash. And then Kino with the stasis keeps alive, turns it back around onto Bivin. Again, I feel like Mega Bank Beyond Gaming are just getting away with murder. How did they outplay this hard?
Everyone just on the edge of death there from both sides. And I mean, more amazingly is the fact that Mega Bank Beyond Gaming were able to outplay that as just the 2-man squad. They brought 3 to this fight in this bottom lane, and honestly, it was well played from Hong Kong Attitude to juggle the aggro. However, they just weren't able to land enough skill shots, and it was well played from Kino to be able to mitigate so much damage, getting that stop onto K to prevent the stun from landing onto Dago, and then of course the stopwatch at the end to prevent him from dying to the Syndra ult. was just so perfectly done. Even though Hong Kong Attitude, it was still a really well executed dive.
Yeah, that was just insane coming in from Kino, honestly. Able to stop out the crash down. Just as we say that, though, he finds
Goodbye,
himself
Kino.
in another big round of trouble as he does go down, getting Kongria the reset. Kongria going in on the Nautilus, but has to flash out, and Husha comes in to part the waves, is holding down the front line. Doggo completely unstopped right here. And we do see another kill, though, coming out for Hong Kong Attitude. They're chasing in for more. They do get the stun.
The re-engage.
Once again, Husha will fall down, and Kongria able to use his passive to get out of harm's way. Reset coming in right in time, and Hong Kong Attitude. That's probably less than 1,000 HP at the end of that fight between 4 members. But they do get out and take the objective. Doggo trying to get some parting shots in.
Not enough mana.
He's going to chase in for more.
Yeah, while all those health bars were so incredibly low, unfortunately, there's just not enough mana on the Ashe remaining. And Kino, he just goes way too far. Like, he blindly checks to see if they're on the dragon, even though he has vision of that pit. And honestly, it's just very baffling. Just a little bit too excited there, and because of how early he went down, they aren't able to return enough coordinated damage to finish off these kills. As you can see, like, their combined health bar probably less than Doggo's health bar in that situation, but Doggo just didn't have the blue resource to finish it off.
The double Sovereign's Domain was pretty cool coming out from Kongria. Perfect tower shot dodging there. Gets himself out of dodge and saves a smite for his team to secure the first objective. Very slow Drake game this time around, so doesn't feel like Hong Kong Attitude actually has that much pressure, but that definitely takes him back into the game. This is probably the best start from Bivin that we have seen out of his entire 5-game catalog so far. So not too bad for Hong Kong Attitude. They still are down by a little bit, but in terms of the win conditions that you've outlined, how are you feeling for them right now?
It's still certainly behind the pace because you want them to be a lot more aggressive when it comes to taking those dragons, or just being aggressive around the Rift Herald. And while they were able to get first Rift Herald, it doesn't seem like they were able to get much out of that objective, as no towers have fallen down. And yes, they got the first dragon, but the timer of which it came at means that Mega Bank Beyond Gaming have more than enough time to hit those scaling breakpoints to fully utilize the level advantage that they're going to get. And once Jace and Rise start getting more and more levels, and this Ashe, the poke just comes really, really easily, as the cooldowns are just that low.
Yeah, I think I do have to agree with you. They've been able to trade blows with Mega Bank Beyond Gaming, but so far none of them have really been lethal knockout punches. Mega Bank still very happy to just scale on both sidelines here. We're seeing the 1-3-1 develop. Doesn't look like they're going to be contesting this Herald at all. Just deciding to let that one go and furthering Liang's lead here, which is very significant. He's about to be 50 CS up on Rock. Looking forward to that Flame Horizon, possibly. We also have Husha clearing out the jungle for him, just making sure his top laner can push without any interference coming in. And with that, they are also going to get the mid lane tower. So a very nice trade coming out from BYG. They lose the Herald, but they get 2 towers for it.
Yeah, the tower is going to feel really nice here. And it's just funneling more and more gold as Rock. He's just we've seen this picture before, Clement. It's not pretty. Rock has just been absolutely manhandled in this first game of the day, and then just that definitely leads to the comparison and the itemization. Like, Rock, he's still looking for that first item. He's still looking for that Rift Maker, and on the flip side, you've got the Eclipse and halfway to the Muramana for Liao. There's just such a massive power differential here, and that's really going to translate to these next couple of skirmishes, or these pre-dragon setups, where the poke is just going to matter a lot more from Liang. And for Rock, well, I don't know what you do. You don't do much
Yeah.
before a dragon fight.
This is probably the most balanced Gwen game that we have seen in a very long time. Like, how do you answer a Gwen? Well, you 3v1 her, and then she doesn't get to play the game and doesn't get to do anything. So have the Eclipse build coming out from Liang, of course the standard one here, but definitely helps in that split push situation. Has a lot of sustain and mobility to just run away. At this point, it seems like Hong Kong Attitude, they need to send a 3-man just to stop Liang at this point. It's very difficult to take down. We're going to see Hong Kong Attitude look for a potential pick here. Oh, yeah, for sure. Kino, it looked like he was playing with fire, but he actually ends up completely fine. He was actually fronting a bit there. I felt like if Hong Kong Attitude went all in, he probably would have died.
Yeah, he definitely would have died there, although perhaps they were trusting in because of Dago was somewhat nearby, the Ash Arrow would come out fast enough to try and save his support as Rift Herald popped down. Really, it's probably just the timer, and not really a
shock blast into Arrow coming down. We see the flash of the war by Kino, but that puts himself in a very bad position. Now we're going to have Kongyue with the reset starting off early. You also see Nautilus getting a hit onto Mon. Mon flashes out. K doesn't find enough targets, but they are going to get Husha off the back of that one. Another reset coming in by Kongyue. Gets the slow down with the W stolen, and that's going to be a double kill. He's going in for more. Maoan gives him the Rune Prison to chase down, and Dago has to burn both summoners to get out. But looked like a great poke down from Megabank Beyond Gaming goes into a massive overchase. Now Hong Kong Attitude with a 3-for-0 trade are going to start up on this mountain there.
And that was such an important fight right then and there. We're going to see the replay. Kino, this is a hook that he definitely did not want to land. He tries to follow up onto the arrow, and because he lands the hook onto M&M somehow, he just goes the extra mile. And as a result, he goes way too far in. He's stuck in a choke. The rest of his team isn't able to follow up. And side of Hong Kong Attitude able to use that one-man advantage to really run away with this fight. They even get both sums out of Doggo afterwards. So that's going to have implications for the next fight.
That was so beautiful from Kongyue. On his first reset, he got the hook to go onto another target, found Husha, then used Wind Becomes Lightning, gets the slow, and then gets the Rune Prison off of Maoan. Viego doesn't need no engages. He actually has perfectly great amounts of engages from the enemy team. Great chain right there. And I'll be honest, that was one of the most skillful displays of Viego mechanics that we've seen in a while. Most of the times I feel like Viego's just a button masher. It's just like, I get resets here, I get resets there, it doesn't even matter what I take, it's all about Heartbreaker. But that was actually super well done from Kongyue to get that chain going down there, and some great reason for this champion being picked up on the first rotation.
Yeah, and that's one of the big differences between Viego and a champion like Silas, right? Because Silas only needs to know how to utilize the ultimate with his kit, whereas if you're on a champ like Viego, you kind of have to have a general understanding of almost how all the champs work in the game, because once you get that reset, if you're able to fully utilize the Viego to its utmost potential, besides just mashing R button non-stop, then you're gonna have to know what the other champs in the game do.
Definitely true, as Leon walks into the mist for a great trade against Rock. Takes him very close to kill range, and Rock has to walk away from that. Very well played by Leon. You know, he switches forms, gets the extra movement speed, and then just opens up on Rock. He doesn't care about the extra resistances at this point. If he's in range and he is able to target Gwen, Rock has to back out.
Yeah, and you can see Rock has a very interesting build. He's gotten the Riftmaker, but he also has the Lucidity boots, which gives him a lot more sticking potential. I feel like it's a much more set for if you're ahead, you become very oppressive because you're able to get your skip and slash cooldown up a lot more often to stick onto a champion like the Jace. But because he's behind, the missing resistances is absolutely gutting in this matchup, as he just hasn't been able to do a single thing in the 1v1. Yeah,
that's a pretty interesting purchase that we see from him, and definitely isn't working out so far in the solo lane. I think we're going back to a very similar game state where Hong Kong Attitude, they do have some great tools in the 5v5s to make things happen and to get those resets down for Kongre to carry them. But without objectives, really pulling Megabank Beyond Gaming together, then BYG just gets to play this silent game. And right now, Liang is completely unstoppable. We see the scaling up happening once again. And coming into this, it does feel like Hong Kong Attitude need a little bit more of those stuns as we have Kongre coming out of the shadow. Does find Kino. Crashdown happens. And that's a very easy pickoff going into the Baron Pit afterwards. Megabank Beyond Gaming, so far they're not responding to what's happening in mid lane, just trying to push as much as possible, and we already have Mawan in the base. Looks like it's going to be a 3-man defend here, while Mawan continues on his journey onto the inhibitor.
They have good poke.
Usha does find a great angle behind the Baron pick, and that poke damage is really adding up with Usha potentially being able to join with that flash on the steal. Let's see if they can get it. Ash Arrow goes down. There will be no attempt right here. Mawan does come down with the TP, and they're going to go for the wrap. Usha goes in onto the 4-man, does get stunned up, and Dago is opening up onto the front. Eminem finds himself in a great position to deal damage here. Usha goes in once more, the red pops, and there is that 1 kill, 2 kill going over to Hong Kong Attitude. They're looking down for more. Dago trying to get into the brush, but he is tagged up by Kongre. Has to flash out immediately. The dance is on, and Hong Kong Attitude able to get away for now.
Kino still has flash.
Coming in, he still has his flash. Uses it across the wall, but doesn't find anyone, and he's just gonna die instantly. Eminem goes back in, they trade off, and Dago is the sole member alive as Kongre goes in with the Heartbreaker, and just like that, it's an ace for Hong Kong Attitude.
I don't know what to say, Clement. This was a very strange play here. I thought that the play would have been, alright, we'll just have Mawan continue to finish off that inhib, and we'll just go ahead, stall out the backs, make sure that you can finish it off. But then he decides to go ahead and teleport in, and with those extra Baron stats, they're able to take this fight fairly evenly. Liang, because of his positioning, yes, he trades 1, but he's the member with the most gold in the game for his squad. If you go 1 for 1 in that situation, that's not good enough. And Hong Kong Attitude, the Kino plays back to back. No idea what's going on.
It was really rough for Kino. He actually got picked out first, came back, and then immediately dies again in the team fight. Almost felt like a Deca kill coming in from Hong Kong Attitude. Very unfortunate there. I totally agree with you. I felt like the safer play for sure was just having Mawan take down that inhibitor, and the rest of the squad, play sort of an interference game. But they went for the risky 4v5, and it did not pay off whatsoever. Hong Kong Attitude, surprisingly enough, still in the gold deficit. But they do have the Baron buff right now to start returning the favor in these side lanes. Bivin getting a tower down, very low for himself. We do have the whole squad from Hong Kong Attitude rotating here as well. Taking a look at the timers here, we do have Hong Kong Attitude being able to string together this Baron buff directly into a must-win Dragon Soul fight on the side for Megabank Beyond Gaming. So looking at it right on the mark at 30 minutes, I feel like that's a pretty good plot for Hong Kong Attitude going forward here. They do force Megabank Beyond Gaming into a 5v5, which I'm not sure they want to take at this point.
Yeah, at this point, it's a little bit scary because of how hard they can just go ahead, pull the trigger. Of course, one of the issues you have with the poke composition, like a Jace Ash, is if they're somehow able to get onto you before you're able to churn out that poke damage, then it doesn't matter. The straight up fight doesn't necessarily favor Megabank Beyond Gaming at this point, and it's going to take yet another heroic rise play coming in from Maoan around this Dragon Pit if they want to really have a say in this next Soul or this Dragon Soul fight.
Gotta say, this is the most coordinated we have seen Hong Kong Attitude play. I think this entire split, to be absolutely honest. The ability to pick people off in odd angles and watching K and Kongir work together, the double K combination coming in here, definitely is something beautiful to see. And Kongir on the cusp of hard carrying his team to another win here. I'm not going to jinx it so far. They are still on. They finally managed to wrestle back the gold lead here. And I think most of the next couple of minutes are just going to be about farming up and setting up for the Cloud Soul here. As we are taking a look at the gold across the board. Liang still carrying about a 2,000 gold lead over everyone else on the rest of the map here. In the meantime, we also do have a more on-hit focus build coming in for the Ashe. Not as strong in terms of the scaling. So, you know, I feel like Hong Kong Attitude really aren't even at that much of a deficit when it comes to the later stages of the game.
Still, it's going to be a very efficient build, especially against the double magic damage threats of Syndra and Gwen. So it's certainly still very powerful against those two champs. And you know, Eminem, he's not feasibly going to get into or past that range, as Dago could come under fire. It was definitely a chance there, but Dago should be able to keep Kalista at bay for the most part, and really then the only threat becomes, well, if Gwen is able to do enough damage to provide that reset for the Viego. So that's really all you're worried about here, is mostly just that Viego somehow getting to that backlight. But right now, Mega Bank Beyond Gaming still trying to keep this map split as much as possible. They understand that the power point is still Liang, it's still Maoan on these side lanes, and trying to keep things isolated as much as possible.
We do have double TPs from Hong Kong Attitude going towards the bottom side of the lane. Excuse me, I should say players with double TPs going off to defend against Liang. It will give Mega Bank Beyond Gaming the inside track into this Baron pit, as we see them converging and using that to their advantage now. They have managed to drag this game very close to a staggered objective position, which I just think favor them. While Hong Kong Attitude, they definitely want one objective pop at a time so they can focus the map into one location. And we see Liang right now pouring in the damage. Sorelia's Grudge already completed, so they will have double slow components on their poke. And Mega Bank Beyond Gaming are splitting the map quite well here, using the Realm Orb and starting up the Baron immediately. Hong Kong Attitude do know about this, but they decide to stay and take down the Cloud Soul first. Interesting decision that I'm going to come back to you later on, but first we have to take a look if Mega Bank are going to get the escape. It looks like they are going to get out just fine. What do you think about the trade?
This trade's definitely intriguing because it is one of those classic, well, we're trading Baron, which gives us immediate gold value against a Dragon Soul, which gives permanent value. Right? It's got short and long-term value, whereas on the flip side, the Baron buff only gives you short-term value. And however, one of the souls you would consider to trade it against would be that Cloud Soul, because it doesn't give as much battle stats as you would consider the other souls. So it's definitely a reasonable trade here for Mega Bank Beyond Gaming. Of course, their composition is also kind of trapped in that 1-3-1 formation at the moment, and this is going to help further supplement that, as of course they do have one inhib down. So now for the side of Hong Kong Attitude, it's really about making sure that they're able to endure this Baron push and then be able to capitalize on that extra move speed, extra cooldown rotations, and try and end the game through there.
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised that Hong Kong Attitude actually let this happen. They had like I think almost a 30-second time difference between Baron and the Cloud Soul coming up. So I thought they were going to hard force Baron a little bit more, but I feel like Mega Bank Beyond Gaming really got away with murder right there. Being able to just dance across the map and take away a major objective without a 5v5 fight. It's definitely a bit of a win in my book for Mega Bank Beyond Gaming.
Yeah.
Also, just getting free scaling coming off of this one.
Yeah,
But we'll see
that's
how
the
Hong
big
Kong
thing.
ends.
Is the
Yeah.
fact that they get extra gold to continue the further scale, and if you look at the gold differential, like they're even ahead in the gold values. Yes, the dragons will pretty much equalize or give a slight advantage over the Hong Kong Attitude at the moment, but now you're stuck in the siege situation. Can you get out of it, Hong Kong Attitude?
Do see another 5-man coming up right here. Rock does have
Arrow
to pop
dodge.
the mist. Dodges a lot of abilities there for a very high value mist coming in. Maoan gets a bit of poke. That's all that is needed to escort Hong Kong Attitude away. The bottom lane here already down on half HP. It's going to give a free rotation to Mega Bank Beyond Game to now clear out the rest of the jungle. And we see this split push coming out once more. We do have a very safe build coming out on the side of Maoan. Does have the Banshee's Veil, so isn't going to go down to anything like Scatter the Weak coming out from Bivin. Isn't going to give him an extra chance against something like the Spectral Maw as well. So everything looks pretty safe from Mega Bank Beyond Gaming right now. It's just a bit of gold in their pockets. And as we have the Baron buffs finally falling off, this is where Hong Kong Attitude should get their advantage out of that trade. They do have the Cloud Soul. They can catch up, especially after the Needlework and after the Magnet Storm. Those two abilities with the Cloud Soul are actually very potent. You get that extra 30% move speed to keep up on your targets afterwards. So we'll see if they can make good use of that. But for Mega Bank, the name of the game is still the same. They're just going to keep Split as far as possible. Even if you get a chase down, it's probably just going to be on one member.
Yeah, Mega Bank, they know how they want to play this game out. Yes, they're going to reconverge around the Elder Dragon in 2 minutes, but for the most part, it's about continue to stretch the map, make sure you set up vision in certain quadrants, and that's the one big difference though, right? Is the fact that Hong Kong Attitude, you look at where their vision is, if anyone tries to path aggressively to try and finish off one of these side lanes, they will get spotted out and they will get caught out here. So Mega Bank Beyond Gaming, they have to play a little bit slow here, play very patiently, and of course that definitely plays into their wheelhouse as well, for the most part. We definitely saw them slip up a couple times, like around the previous Baron, but when it comes down to crunch time, you expect excellence here, and there's only 90 more seconds until we find out.
Yeah, looking at the build so far, I actually think we are at the point where Gwen is finding herself much more comfortable back into the game. At this point, she can trade probably even better than Liang when it comes to taking out opponent backlines. And we do have Hong Kong Attitude going for a bit of a cheeky cutoff. Lutino is able to escape fine through the left side into the enemy jungle. But you have to remember that there is still Fate's Call here on Hong Kong Attitude, so they could engage on you out of nowhere, and the flash is up as well. But Liang, in the meantime, another successful split on the map is going to pull Rock back into the base. Home guard in effect right here, so he will be racing up here just fine. But we have to run more for the potential 2-man engage onto the top lane. Rock instantly has to pop the Needlework to get out, and this could just be a free inhibitor.
Wait, they aren't finishing
nice
it.
Play coming out.
They're on the run now.
Yeah, I think they that was the right call there, just judging by how fast Hong Kong Attitude was converging. So looks like they're just going to be able to get full map control off of that, though, which is still pretty big. And the free inhibitor still goes down.
Yeah, inhib is going to be relatively inconsequential for this next dance, though, as both Dragon and Baron are up and available. Tino possibly caught out again.
Engage does start. We have Magnet Storm already used by K, only for the flash, though. And that's still favorable for Mega Bank Beyond Gaming just so far. They're able to get full vision control, take the inhibitor down. It looks like Kino is walking up for more, as we do have Maoan on the backside right here. Instant flash in from Kongrui onto the back line. Are they going to be able to pick off Liang? Liang does go down to Bivin, and the engage is up. Maoan follows. Solo Lane's already dead. Gago dies as well. Gwen opens up on him. Kusha has nowhere to go as Kongrui chases him down. And Mega Bank Beyond Gaming, they thought they had the pincer move, but Hong Kong Attitude with the decisive flash coming in from Kongyue. They are going to get the upper hand in this one. Husha not able to fight the trade here, as they are just going to go for the base, extending out this kill lane. Yeah, even if Husha survives, there's no one left to defend. We are having a 26-second timer on Dago. And Mega Bank Beyond Gaming, they fall to their own hubris. They're trying to get the pincer. Kongyue outplays them all, and Hong Kong Attitude gets a massive upset. Go up to 5 wins now. At best, Alpha Esports can only tie them in the standings. They take themselves out, at least for a chance for a tiebreaker. If they are to, if there is any chance they fall to fail to make it into the postseason, at least they secure themselves a tiebreaker now. And Kongyue looks ecstatic.
This is a massive win for this squad, as they've been on a massive slump here, losing 6 in a row. Big struggles coming out from this group. We were wondering if they were just going to fall out of playoffs, even with how low Liab and Alpha were doing themselves in the standings, but they managed to right their wrongs with the unbelievable victory. And part of that again comes to the fact that they were very good at keeping their half of the map warded. And in that last play, Liang, he tries to cut his positioning here, and they get caught out, and immediately the call is made. They collapse, and yeah, this is unbelievable green pathing.
Yeah, and that was such a big play from Bivin. Definitely the best play of his PCS career. Gets the flash and instantly knocks down into the GA, so for an easy finish off. And if you look at the minimap that play, you can tell how split Beyond Gaming actually were. Doggo was still on the Elder Drake, and they were so far apart. That was, it's kind of weird to say this, but I definitely think that this was a kind of an off performance coming in from Mega Bank Beyond Gaming in both of their crucial team fights. We saw the 4v5 that fell apart on their end, and this collapse, quote unquote, because I find it so hard to actually call it a collapse because of how far away the action actually was, which is a little bit baffling. But congratulations to Hong Kong Attitude. They definitely made the higher seed pay here. It was beautiful to watch from Bivin.
Yeah, it was definitely a very, very good punish coming in from Hong Kong Attitude. And you could say, like, it was an attempt at a map collapse, but it was really just a mental collapse right then and there, because it was definitely not the play. So big credit goes out to Hong Kong Attitude for finding that play that was given to them and running away with the game at the very end. So a crucial win there, and also a crucial loss for Mega Bank Beyond Gaming if they want to ensure themselves one of the top 2 seeds.
Okay, I just want to throw this one out here. A bit of a prediction to test out if you are a Hong Kong Attitude fan or not, but are they making playoffs?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, there we go.
It's so
That's
hard
all we
for
need to
them.
know about this game.
It's so
I'm
hard
sorry,
for them
Liab
to fall
fans.
out of playoffs, Clement.
Yeah, it will be very, very difficult after this loss. And like we mentioned, they do still have a game against Alpha Esports. So this is a massive win here. They could take them to 6, and that means they could sneak into the 6th place position in the PCS, which means that they don't have to start from the lower bracket. So every win really counts here. We're going to be keeping close eye on what happens still across today's games. But first, we're going to be looking at the damage charts here. And this is something that I do want to ask you about, which I felt like this game, Leon had such a massive lead. He had 3 3v1s against Rock early on, but at the end, they didn't manage to actually split push Hong Kong Attitude to death here. What went wrong there?
Yeah, it really just came down to the fact that while they were trying to enforce those leads on that side, a couple of those earlier fights where all of a sudden the rest of the team started falling apart, then you're kind of very timid at being caught out, because if you do get caught out, then the rest of the team feels very, very doomed because of how much of the gold lead was on the Jace. So you could definitely feel feel the pressure mounting for Liang personally, and especially just on that final play. Again, it comes down to the final play, but like if you're not under that kind of stress and pressure, you probably don't make that aggressive of a cut there on the map.
Yeah, I definitely think Mega Big Beyond Gaming still have a little bit more to learn in the 1-3-1. This is something we did talk about. In Spring Split, they were mainly a pick-oriented team that played around a lot of Kaisas. They were much more about collapsing. But they didn't actually play the split push game that much. They were much more, I would say, they're much more tempo-based in terms of how they handled their mid to late games. And I think that's definitely going to be a growing pain still. Also, I feel like Kino getting 2100 damage on Death Charge Nautilus with Ignite. A pretty rough game coming out from Daddy Kino right there. But, of course, a big kudos to Kongria finally showing up here. A great game for him. 15 KDA across the board and a great carry performance with him on this Viego. I think this is the best condition for Hong Kong Attitude when you have Kongria on a carry like the Diana, like the Viego, that can make great plays later in the team fights.
Yeah, and this was the weird game from Kongria, to be fair, though, because if you watch the early game, watch the mid game, he didn't get to do anything. He wasn't super active on the map. He wasn't trying to gank lanes. He was trying to put out a lot of fires and trying to make sure he could actually find part of the jungle that he could farm. For the most part, Megabank Beyond Gaming did a fantastic job at limiting Kongria's impact. It was just that one dive, they were able to get a bunch of gold onto Kongria. Yes, it didn't go into Rock's hands, which doomed him for pretty much the rest of the game. But you get into your one win condition on the team, and he was able to carry them over the line.
Yeah, you can't keep a man down for so long. Legends will rise, which is our tagline in PCS, by the way, if you guys didn't know that. But that's going to be all for our first game here between Hong Kong Attitude and Megabank Beyond Gaming. Don't go anywhere as PSG continue to strive for their flawless split against Boom Esports.